And we're back with another one. This is Serial Killers Who Picked the Wrong Victim by Crime Paint. New channel I've never watched before, but I saw somebody recommend it. I got
Carol
excited.
DaRonch,
Here
Ted
we go.
Bundy. On the evening of November 8th, 1974, 18-year-old Carol DaRonch was shopping at the Fashion Place Mall in Murray, Utah, when a man approached her and identified himself as a police officer. He told her someone had tried to break into her car, and she needed to come with him to file a report. She got into his Volkswagen. Within minutes, she knew something was wrong. He wasn't driving toward any police station. He pulled over on a side street, snapped a handcuff around one of her wrists,
The
and produced a
fuck?
gun. She fought, pushing, clawing, screaming, and threw herself out of the car. Bundy came after her with a crowbar. She kept fighting until an approaching car forced him to stop. She flagged it down and was driven directly to the police station, the handcuff still dangling from her wrist. Her description of the attacker and his vehicle gave investigators their first substantial physical lead. Her testimony was critical in Bundy's 1976 Utah
Nice,
trial, where he
Carol.
was convicted of kidnapping and sentenced to 1 to 15 years in prison, his first major conviction, and the paper trail that connected him to murders across multiple states. She later said she would never forget his face. The jury believed her. He escaped custody twice after that and killed again. But without Carol DaRonch, there is no conviction, no investigation thread, no end point. She was 18. She had never been more frightened in her life, and she got out of the car. Lisa
Thank
McVeigh,
you,
Bobby
Carol.
Joe Long.
And Carol, I just want to say you are a baddie. Like I know that's not a part of anything of this, but like, oh, she's 70 now. Good stuff, Carol. Good stuff, Carol.
Gifted. She decided
Proud of
she
you.
wanted to live. Before kidnapping McVeigh, Bobby Joe Long had already murdered 8 women in the Tampa Bay
Oh my
area. He would kill
goodness.
2 more after releasing her, bringing his total to 10. What McVeigh did over the next 26 hours was extraordinary. Blindfolded and held captive in Long's apartment, she memorized everything she could: the layout of rooms, the sounds of nearby traffic, the direction they had driven. She deliberately left fingerprints in the bathroom. She kept strands of her hair in places she thought police might find them. She talked to Long, calmly, carefully, working to humanize herself, telling him about her life, asking about his. When he finally released her, she went straight to police and gave them everything. 13 days after her release, officers captured Long at a movie theater using the description she had provided of his car and his
Nice,
appearance.
Lisa.
The evidence she had deliberately planted confirmed the location where she had been held. Bobby Joe Long was arrested, convicted, and eventually executed by lethal injection in May
That's what I'm
2019.
talking about.
Lisa McVeigh sat in the front row. She said she wanted to be the first person Long saw when he died. He kept his eyes closed. She later became a Hillsborough County Sheriff's deputy. She was 17
Damn.
years old, and she spent 26 hours preparing the case that would destroy him. Kara Robinson, Richard Evanitz. On the afternoon
These
of
are
June
some
24th,
badasses. I'm
2002,
gonna be honest.
15-year-old Kara Robinson was watering plants in the front yard of her friend's house in West Columbia, South Carolina, when a dark green Pontiac Trans Am pulled into the
Oh, that's a
driveway.
nice
A
car.
man got out and started talking to her. Then he pressed a gun to her
Oh.
neck. Richard Evanitz forced her into a large plastic storage bin in the back of his car and drove to the
fuck?
apartment he shared with his wife, who was out of town. He carried the bin inside, tied Kara to the bed, and sexually assaulted her. What happened next is why Kara Robinson's case is studied today. She stayed calm. She memorized the layout of every room, the animals he kept, the sounds outside, the turns he had made while driving. She counted steps. She offered to clean his kitchen. She made him trust her. During the early hours of the following morning, she freed herself from one handcuff and one leg restraint while he slept, ran to a nearby parking lot, found 2 people sitting in a car, and pleaded with them to take her to the police. She then led investigators directly back to Evanitz's
That's
apartment. When police
insane.
searched it, they found newspaper clippings detailing the unsolved murders of 3 girls, Sophia Silva and sisters Caddy and Kristen Lisk, who had disappeared in Virginia 5 years earlier. Evanitz fled and died by suicide in Florida days later.
Of
Kara Robinson's
course.
escape had solved 3 cold case murders at once. She later became a school resource officer. She was 15 years old.
Kara,
She
you're a
spent
fucking
18 hours
beast,
preparing
Kara.
her escape. Tracy Edwards, Jeffrey Dahmer. On the night of July 22nd,
Dude,
1991,
why have I not heard of any of
Tracy
these?
Edwards was drinking
Am I
with
not
friends in
cultured?
Milwaukee when he was approached by Jeffrey Dahmer, who offered him money to come back to his apartment, have some beers, and pose for photographs. Edwards agreed and went. Almost immediately, Dahmer's demeanor changed. He handcuffed Edwards, held him at knife point, and laid his head on Edwards's chest, listening to his heartbeat. He
What
told
the
Edwards he was
fuck?
going to eat his heart. Edwards spent
Dude,
4 hours.
and Dahmer was not kidding. He was actually gonna eat. He was a cannibal, I'm pretty sure. Not ideal.
In that
Not
apartment.
an ideal
He talked to
situation.
Dahmer. He stayed calm. He watched. He waited. When Dahmer was distracted and not holding the loose handcuff, Edwards punched him in the jaw, knocked him to the ground, and ran out the front door. He ran down the street. No shirt, handcuffs dangling from one wrist, until he spotted a Milwaukee patrol car and flagged it down. He led officers back to the apartment. They were hit with a rancid smell when they entered. Inside, they found preserved human heads, mutilated body parts, and photographs of butchered men. Dahmer was arrested that night. He was convicted of 17 murders and sentenced to
Holy
life in prison
shit.
without the possibility of parole.
Tracy.
A fellow inmate beat him to death in November 1994.
Yeah, I remember
Tracy
that.
Edwards was the only man to ever escape Jeffrey Dahmer. He walked out of that apartment and ended it. Cynthia Vigil, David Parker Ray, the toy box killer. On March 19, 1999, 22-year-old Cynthia Vigil was in a parking lot in Albuquerque, New Mexico,
The
when a
toy
man
box
posing as an
killer?
undercover police officer told her she was under arrest and put her in the back of his car. He drove her 2 hours south to his property in Elephant Butte, New Mexico, where he had constructed a soundproofed cargo trailer behind his home. He called it the toy box. Ray chained Vigil to a table inside. He played her a pre-recorded cassette tape he had made for all of his victims, detailing in clinical terms what she would be forced to endure. The trailer was filled with custom-built torture devices.
Dude,
and a
who was this
gynecological chair
guy?
fitted with electrodes.
Dude, who is this guy? Why have I never heard of him? What the fuck?
Ray tortured and raped Vigil for 3 days with the help of his girlfriend Cindy Hendy. On the third day, Ray went to work. Hendy was less careful than Ray. She left the keys to Vigil's restraints on a nearby table. When Hendy left the room, Vigil used her feet to inch the table closer until she could reach them. She freed her hands. Hendy caught her and struck her on the head with a lamp. Vigil grabbed an ice pick from the floor, stabbed Hendy in the neck, and ran out of the trailer, naked, still wearing a padlocked iron collar and chains. She reached a neighboring mobile home. The owner let her in, gave her a robe, and called 911. Police arrived and arrested Ray and Hendy about an hour later. After the arrest, a second woman came forward with a similar story, and Hendy began cooperating fully with investigators. Police found Ray's journals detailing decades of crimes. He accepted a plea deal and was sentenced to 224 years in prison. He died of a heart attack in 2002. The exact number of Ray's victims is unknown. He claimed as many as 40. None of the bodies were ever found. What ended his killing was a woman who grabbed an ice pick and ran.
Wait, I just have to like see who this guy is. I've never ever heard of him. David Parker Ray. The toy box killer. What the fuck? What was his girlfriend? Anyone that wears these fucking glasses is not to be trusted. Seriously, get away from them as soon as possible.
Is unknown. He claimed as many as 40. None of the bodies were ever found.
Cynthia.
What ended his killing was a woman who grabbed an ice pick and ran.
I'm glad that you got that ice pick.
Angel Maturino Resendez, the railroad killer. On the night of August 29, 1997, Holly Dunn, a 20-year-old junior at the University of Kentucky, was walking home along railroad tracks near campus with her boyfriend Christopher Mayer after a party.
Oh,
A man stepped out of the darkness. Resendez tied both of them up. Holly watched as he killed Chris by dropping a 52-pound rock on his head. He then stabbed, beat, and raped Holly and left her for dead beside the tracks. Her eye socket and jaw were both broken. She had been stabbed in the neck. Holly Dunn survived by lying still. When Resendez was gone, she walked, bleeding, barely conscious, approximately 200 yards to a nearby house and asked for help. Her testimony at Resendez's trial was devastating. Following 10 hours of deliberation, the jury found him guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to death and executed in Texas in 2006. By that time, he had been linked to at least 15 murders across the United States and Mexico. Holly Dunn was the only known survivor of the railroad killer. In 2008, she founded Holly's House, a nonprofit in Evansville, Indiana, providing support and resources to victims of violent crime. She named her first son William Christopher after the boyfriend she watched die. Marcella Claxton, Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper. Not every story in
The
this video is about
Yorkshire
someone who
Ripper.
escaped. This one is about someone who did everything right and was failed anyway. In the early hours of May
What?
9th, 1976,
Oh, we're taking it
20-year-old Marcella
back.
Claxton was walking home from a late-night party in Leeds when Peter Sutcliffe attacked her from behind with a hammer. She required brain surgery to survive. She had 54 stitches in her head, back and front. She also lost the baby she was 4 months pregnant with. She called the police. She gave them a detailed description of her attacker, a bearded white man, and sat with officers to produce a photo fit. When Marcella described her attacker as a bearded white man, police told her she was mistaken and that her attacker was black. Her photo fit was dismissed entirely.
Jesus fucking
Marcella,
Christ, bro.
a black woman, was racially abused, wrongly labeled a prostitute, and her accurate description of the killer was discarded. Her photo fit bore a strong resemblance to the one another survivor, Marilyn Moore, would produce the following year after surviving her own attack. Both were ignored. Decades later, the documentary maker who revisited the case said that if Marcella's photo fit had not been discarded, several women who died after May 1976 might have lived. Sutcliffe went on to murder 11 more women after attacking
Jesus
Marcella Claxton.
Christ.
She had given police his face. They handed it back. Marilyn Moore, Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper.
Fuck, dude.
Between 1975
Dude, and then you have this. It's the same guy. It's talking about
and
the other girl.
1980, Peter
Wait, they
Sutcliffe
really-
murdered 13 women across West Yorkshire and Greater Manchester and attacked many
gonna let
more
it
who
play.
survived.
I'll let it
The
play.
police investigation became one of the most catastrophically bungled in British history, crippled by institutional misogyny, misdirected by a hoaxer's tape, and repeatedly failing to act on evidence that pointed directly at Sutcliffe. One of the clearest pieces of that evidence came from Marilyn Moore. On December 14th, 1977, Sutcliffe attacked Moore, a 25-year-old woman from Leeds, in the back of his car on waste ground in Scott Hall. His first hammer blow failed to stun her, and her screams set off a nearby dog barking, forcing him to flee. Moore later provided one of the best photo fits of Sutcliffe produced by any known victim. A detective who saw it described it as a dead ringer for him. Tire tracks at the scene also linked the attack to a previous murder. The description was there. The evidence was there. Sutcliffe was interviewed multiple times in the years that followed and released each time,
The
in part
fuck?
because investigators had fixated on a hoaxer's tape that sent the entire inquiry the wrong direction. It was ultimately a routine traffic stop in January 1981, officers noticing false number plates on his car, that led to Sutcliffe's arrest. Within days, he confessed, he was convicted and given 20 life sentences. Marilyn Moore had given police everything they
I'm
needed
just
years
I'm just
earlier.
confused
That
how
it
they
wasn't enough,
always mess
that
this
the
up,
system
dude.
failed her and the women who came after is its own reckoning. But when
I just don't understand this. How are they so dumb in like the 1970s? Like seriously. How are they so dumb? This guy lived he lived to COVID. Did they have COVID in the UK? Jesus Christ. He literally confessed right away.
Sutcliffe was finally caught, her photo fit was recognized by the officers who arrested him. Theresa Thornhill, Robert Black. In April 1988, 15-year-old Theresa Thornhill was walking home from a friend's house in the Radford area of Nottingham when a van pulled up alongside her. Robert Black, already responsible for 4 child murders and the subject of one of the largest police manhunts in British history, got out and asked if she knew anything about car engines. When she turned to respond, he grabbed her from behind, clamped a hand over her mouth, and tried to drag her through the side door of the van. His foul stench was overwhelming and I could barely breathe, she later told
Jesus
police.
Christ.
He lifted me off my feet.
Did they
and
have
nearly
to add that? Did they have to add that in this video? That he smelled like
dragged her through the
shit?
side door of the van.
I don't think you
His
need to
foul
add
stench
this.
was overwhelming and I could barely breathe, she later told police.
Dude, did you
He
really
lifted me
need to
off my
add
feet
that?
and had nearly pulled me through the side door of his van, but I started fighting back. I managed to scream and bit his arm, then grabbed him by his trousers. He dropped me on the floor. A man nearby witnessed the struggle and ran over. Black fled, shouting as he drove off. Theresa ran home. Her parents called the police. Investigators had a description, a van, and another confirmed attempted abduction to add to the pattern they had been building for years. Black was not caught that day, but her account and her physical description were part of the case against him when he finally stood trial. Black was caught 2 years later, in July 1990, when he abducted a 6-year-old girl in the village of
What the
Stowe in the
fuck?
Scottish borders, and was found with the child gagged, bound, and stuffed in a sleeping bag in the back of his van. In 1994,
Dude, these people
he
are
was
so
convicted
sick,
of 3
seriously.
child murders and the attempted abduction of Theresa Thornhill. In 2011, he was convicted of a 4th murder. He died in prison in 2016. Teresa was 15 years old, and she fought back with everything she had. 2 years later, that fight was part of what put him away.
Good
The
shit,
six-year-old
Teresa.
girl in Stowe, Robert Black. Robert Black was a Scottish delivery driver who used his job to travel freely across Britain, Ireland, and continental Europe, abducting and killing young girls. Between 1981 and 1986, he murdered 4 children aged between 5 and 11: Jennifer Carty, Susan Maxwell, Caroline Hogg, and Sarah Harper. Police across multiple forces had been hunting him for nearly a decade. They could not catch him. What caught him was a 6-year-old girl and a witness in the Scottish borders. On July 14, 1990, a resident of the village of Stowe saw Black bundle a small child into his van. They called the police immediately. Officers intercepted the van within minutes on the road out of the village. When they opened the back doors, they found the girl hooded, bound, gagged, and stuffed in a sleeping bag. She had already been sexually assaulted. She was still alive.
She's 6
On the way
years
to the police
old.
station, Black said to officers, "It was a rush of blood. I've always liked young girls."
Do I have to finish this video? Who is this sick motherfucker? A rush of blood? Dude, these people are fucking sick.
I just seen her and got her into the van. Once in custody, he was linked to the unsolved child murders going back to 1981. In 1994, he was convicted of 3 of those murders and sentenced to life imprisonment. In 2011, 30 years after the crime, he was convicted of the murder of Jennifer Carty. He died in prison in 2016. The girl in Stowe survived. Her name has never been made public. She was 6 years old, and her survival was the thread that unraveled one of the most wanted killers in British history. Inez Erickson and James Romero. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Between April 1984 and August 1985,
Stalker?
Richard Ramirez broke into homes across Southern California.
Bro, everyone, dude, I remember people were making TikToks around COVID time. They were making TikToks about how handsome this guy was. And like how he didn't deserve to go to jail. I don't know what he personally did. I'm about to find out. But I just remember seeing his face and everyone was like, "Oh, he's so handsome. He's so handsome. He doesn't deserve this. He doesn't deserve this."
And killed at least 14 people.
Okay, so he killed 14 people. So there we go. So
He
there
was
we go
known as the
actually.
Night Stalker. For over a year, he evaded one of the largest
Why do they
manhunts in
give them the
California
coolest
history.
names though?
The chain
Night
of events
Stalker,
that
that's a
ended
cool
his
name.
killing began on the night of August 24th, 1985, in Mission Viejo, about 40 miles south of Los Angeles. Ramirez drove 76 miles in a stolen orange Toyota to Mission Viejo. Before breaking into a home, he was spotted by 13-year-old James Romero, who had been outside late at night and noticed a strange man in a car with its headlights off. Romero memorized the make, model, color, and a partial license plate number of the Toyota. Ramirez then broke into the home of Bill Carnes and his fiancée Inez Erickson. He shot Carnes 3 times in the head, then beat, bound, and raped Erickson. As he left, he told her, "Tell them the Night Stalker was here."
This fucking guy, bro. Dude, this is just insane. You can't give them a cool name like this because then they start doing bullshit like this, man.
Erickson. He shot Carnes 3 times in the head.
Like,
then
dude, did
beat,
you have to do
bound,
all this?
And raped Erickson. As
And
he left,
then
he told
guess
her,
what?
"Tell them the Night Stalker."
Tell them the Night Stalker was here. Stop giving
was
them
here.
names.
Inez Erickson
We gotta
untied
stop
herself
doing that.
and went to a neighbor's house to get help. Surgeons were able to remove the bullets from Carnes' head, and he survived.
The fuck did he survive?
Bound and raped Erickson.
How
As
the
he left,
fuck
he
did
told
he
her,
survive?
"Tell them the Night Stalker was here." Inez Erickson untied herself and went to a neighbor's house to get help. Surgeons were able to remove the bullets from Carnes' head, and he survived. Erickson gave investigators a detailed physical description of her attacker. Romero's parents contacted police with the plate information. Police located the abandoned Toyota, recovered a fingerprint from the rearview mirror, which Ramirez had adjusted with his bare hand after removing his gloves, and a computer match confirmed his identity. His photograph was released to the public. On August 31st, 1985, Ramirez walked into an East Los Angeles liquor store and saw his own face on the front page of every newspaper. A woman in the store recognized him and shouted out. He ran. Residents of the neighborhood chased him down and held him until police arrived. Ramirez was convicted in 1989 of 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. He died on death row in 2013. What brought him down was a chain of ordinary people: a woman who untied herself and walked to her neighbor's door, a teenager who wrote down a license plate, and a neighborhood that recognized a face in a
That's
newspaper and refused to
insane.
let him run.
That's
If you'd like to see more
insane.
videos like
He just
this,
didn't
make sure
know.
to subscribe and
Imagine he just never went there. Holy shit. Amazing video, Crime Paint. I have to subscribe. Amazing video. Serial killers who picked the wrong victim. Amazing video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I enjoyed it. Peace.